Todd McShay from the worldwide leader in sports, college football analyst, NFL draft analyst, joins us here on the show. What would you say to that answer to that question, Todd?
I think the fans were pretty close. I think with Lamar, you look at the delivery and the mechanics, and you want to see improvement. You want to see, not to get too technical, he's kind of a narrow-based thrower who kind of comes up over the top and can fix that. It's not like changing a quarterback's complete delivery, but I think with a little bit of work, he can become more accurate, and that's what you want to see there. I think behind the scenes, Josh Rosen probably has the most work to do, and it's not, these are just 15-minute interviews with NFL teams, and certainly they have their coordinators and all the key people in there and psychologists in there, but if the teams that are seriously consider drafting him will obviously be at his pro day, but then we'll go down and bring the decision makers to him and spend a day with him throwing and working through some stuff physically on the field, and then they'll fly him into their facility. And my guess is he's going to have a very busy April, traveling around the country, going to different teams and spending the day with people and having coaches try to get to know him and psychologists spending more time with him and trying to figure out, the questions that we've talked about over and over again with Rosen. Does he need the game? Does he love the game? Is he coachable? And figuring out if they have the right people in place, too, that he will respect. Because he's always going to ask why. If you tell him to do something, he's going to say why. And it comes off as not being coachable sometimes. But I think he wants to know that if he's doing something, that there's a reason for it. And you have to have someone in place who's capable of dealing with that.
Yeah, but I guess the letter would be W, right? The kid can win when it all comes down to it, one would think. How much of what happened at UCLA is being placed on his shoulders, though, Todd?
I think ultimately, in talking to people from there and then talking to scouts who have talked to more people, ultimately it turned into a situation where he wasn't always the best teammate and questioned authority and wasn't always the most coachable. But I also think he was carrying an entire program, a program that had a lot of injuries for whatever reason, a program where he had 3 different coordinators in 3 different years, and the talent around him was not nearly as good as some of the other places in the Pac-12. So I think, when you look at his production and what he was able to do, 17-13 as a starter, he played so much better than a guy who was almost 50% in terms of wins and losses. 61% of his attempts were completed. He probably was closer to 70% when you go back and look at the drops and guys not getting open and doing what they had to do. And listen, there is no one in this draft that I would rather go play a game tomorrow with and believe we could win in the NFL than Rosen. He is the most NFL-ready, polished, pure passer of the group. But you got to know what you're getting long term, and if this is a guy that's going to become a Jay Cutler for you, or is he someone that you can manage a little bit better?
Todd McShay here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then our buddy Adam Schefter, tweeting out that Sam Darnold's not going to spin it. He'll put on the sweatshirt while everybody else goes through the on-field drills. How do you think that's going to play out for him, Todd?
Listen, I want to see them all compete. We all do. And I hear the narrative every year, but I also am a realist. I don't think a quarterback has ever been drafted or not drafted off of what he did or didn't do at the NFL Combine. I know you're not supposed to say this. I know some guys in the league will listen to this and be annoyed with me, giving him a pass, but plenty of guys have done it before and been very high picks and gone on to have very good NFL careers. And I just listen, and you're going up, we've got Josh Rosen and Allen and some of the other really good passers, and he has a unique delivery. And to have an apples-to-apples comparison there, maybe that's what they're trying to avoid. I honestly don't know what the reasoning is, but I could understand it. No one's going to outthrow Josh Allen from Wyoming in terms of arm strength. And, Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield are very accurate. I think he's just as accurate, but they look a little bit more traditional. He's got that longer stroke, and while he gets it out quickly, I think just having him go in line, quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, it's going to look different than everybody else's. Versus if you're just at a pro day or working him out individually, you get over it a little bit more. So if I had to guess, that might have something to do with it. Although maybe he's just chosen that it's not that big of a deal and that he'll throw at his pro day and he'll throw for NFL teams and he doesn't need to throw here.
See, obviously, I have more skin in the game in the fact that I'm sitting on a network that's broadcasting it, and so I fully admit that my view is viewed through those glasses, okay?
Yep.
But every scout knows going in that his throwing motion is going to look different apples to apples. You know what I'm saying? So it's not as if it's just Joe or Jane Schmo just sitting in the stands watching these guys. It's viewed through that way.
Trained professionals.
So right, exactly. So I look, I understand that he would be concerned about not putting his best foot forward because there could be some, Division II kid that he's got to throw to that runs a route in a manner that he's never seen before. But we all know what it is, right? I kind of don't get it. And so you don't think that there's going to be anybody sitting there wondering why he's not doing it? In a room when a push does come to shove, if it isn't apples to apples?
He's going to be asked. I mean, every interview he has, he'll have to answer that question, and I'll be interested to see what the answer was and how he answered it. It's tough. I get it. I really honestly do want to see him compete, but this guy was a high school linebacker. Didn't play quarterback really fully until his final year. He played basketball. He played baseball. All he's done is compete his entire life. He doesn't win the job, and then he gets the job, 2 years ago. And in 24 games, he goes 20-4 as a starter. So it's hard for me. If it was a different player, if it was one of the other names, I would look upon it a little differently, to be completely transparent with you, than I do with Darnold, who is just his competitive makeup is one of his greatest strengths. And so I think this is more strategic than anything, but I really don't think it would be something where you question his willingness to compete. I really don't at the end of the day.
Todd McShay here on the Rich Eisen Show. A couple more minutes with the ESPN college football analyst and obviously NFL draft analyst. Do you have a
Now, if you guys would let me in the building, Rich Eisen, and not have security keep me out, then maybe I'd be saying, yeah, let's go, Darnold, throw.
Well, Todd, maybe you should just stop with hanging with the riffraff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hear you.
Hey, I have no control over that sort of thing. I'm just the worker bee. When it all comes down to it, Todd, do you have right now a draft board? What's your process right now? Do you have players 1 through all the way down to X right now?
Yeah, kind of obligated to. It's changing.
Nice.
It's changing on a daily basis because, today, for example, I just watched DJ Moore, the wide receiver from Maryland, and like him more than I thought based on just watching on television. And, so this process is a long one, and just kind of moving guys around as you're watching tape. So, yes, to answer your question, I do. There are some players where I feel really good about because I'm done with all of the tape work. And then there are other guys that I've been getting the 3rd, 4th round. There are guys that I'm not sure of. They could wind up being in the 2nd round 2 weeks from now when I get back from Indy and able to continue to watch more tape. But right now, to answer your question, I've got Barkley at 1, Saquon Barkley, the Penn State running back. I've got Quentin Nelson at 2, the guard from Notre Dame. And I know guards don't go that high, but he's just too good to move down. And I've got Sam Darnold at 3, Josh Rosen at 4, and the pass rusher Bradley Chubb, the defensive end from NC State, at number 5.
Who's going to have the cojones to take a guard top 5? You think somebody's going to do that?
It's tough. There are some teams that just absolutely will not. It's just a philosophy, and I get it.
If you've got Andrew Luck and Barkley's gone, let's say Barkley's gone, and you're sitting there at 3, the Colts are going to have a choice between, okay, do we get this kid Chubb to chase down Deshaun Watson twice a year, to chase down Mariota and the maker of stars and remover of tarps, Blake Bortles? Or do we get some? We got to protect Andrew Luck in that shoulder, right? That's the decision the Colts are going to have at 3 when it comes down to it.
It's going to be a tough decision because they're both really good players, and the positional value tells you to draft Chubb, the pass rusher, because you can get guards later, typically. If it's not the Colts at 3, I think you can look at the Broncos. If the Broncos handle their quarterback position in free agency, let's say, they certainly could use an upgrade in the offensive line. The Jets, same thing. If they handle their quarterback position in free agency, then they could go with Nelson at 6, and then at 7, the Buccaneers have a need as well. So I think somewhere in those first 7 picks is a really good shot that Quentin Nelson comes off the board. I haven't talked to a guy in the league that doesn't think he's one of the top 5 players in this draft, right. And most guys have him in the top 3.
It's amazing, right? The top players, and you're right. A running back guard, there's no way they go 1-2, and when it all comes down to the draft, there's no way.
Exactly.
Todd, I love it. I love it. Always enjoy our chats. Let's grab a beverage in Indianapolis. I'd love that.
Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to your exhaustive coverage. I'm sure you've been grinding, getting ready, bud.
Oh, yeah. My exhaustive coverage. Mike Mayock, what do you think? Let's go to break. No, it's fun. It's great. I really do look forward to it every year, and I appreciate you chiming in on this show as much as you have. Thank you.
Cool. You guys do a great job. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, bud. That's at McShay13.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.